It's my pleasure to have on the call today from Singapore, Mr. Fredrik Härén. The first question I have for you today is when we say change our thinking, change our life, what does that mean to you personally?
Well, I guess I'm on this show because I study creativity. So I've been speaking and writing about creativity for almost 25 years, 23 years, I think. And to me, creativity is change. I mean, creativity is to do things differently, and to do things differently, we have to change. So in a way, you can look at creativity as being positive change. Yeah. That's how I look at it. Change for the sake of change is not necessarily a good thing, but creativity in itself is a good thing, because creativity is changing something to the better, making the world a slightly better place. So that's why I focus a lot I speak a lot about change too, but I do it under the umbrella of creativity, because that to me is more positive and also more proactive change. Because some change can also just happen without, it's raining, that's a change, but it has nothing to do with me. I'm not in charge of that change. Then, I might need to change my behavior as in get an umbrella, but a lot of change happens without our control. But creativity is change we control.
Can you think of someone or even a book or something you referred to, you think that was a real point of change in my thinking? Is there anything of that nature?
Well, there's been a few pivotal changes in my life. First, when I decided to write, I wrote my first book about the internet. So that happened when I went to the US and studied at the age of 25 or something in the US in 1993. And it happened to be that my university in the US had a computer connected to the internet. And I had a girlfriend at the time who was in Sweden. So the alternative at that time was either to call at, $2 per minute, or send a normal letter, which would take like 6 weeks and back and forth. But here you can send an electronic email, basically, and it was instant. So I convinced my girlfriend to go and find any computer in Sweden that had the internet, and we would start sending emails to each other. So I saw that there was a demand, there was a personal need that got me to see the advantage of the internet very early. So I came home, and in '94 I wrote a book about the internet and marketing, and that kind of kickstarted my speaking career. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, I like to say that as a speaker, you need to be the expert. But an expert means that you know more than the audience. That's all it means. As long as you know more than the audience, you're an expert in this scenario. The biggest change I've done in my life is moving to Asia in 2005. Because that was the most fundamental change of me as a person in many different aspects. So I was an extremely successful speaker in Sweden. I was speaker of the year. I did 199 speeches in 1 year, and I didn't have to do any, and people just called and booked me. So I could have just continued to do that. But then in 2005, I decided life was too easy. And I was just cruising. So I said, okay, cruising is nice, but it's kind of boring. So what would be a challenge? So that's what I did. I went from being a very successful speaker to starting as a newbie in a country where I didn't speak the language, and I was trying to build a speaking business in a country that didn't really have a speaking business at the time. Everyone says, so didn't you feel uncomfortable and out of your element? And my observation was that I've never been more myself than for the first 6 months when I was in Beijing, because I wasn't ingrained into China yet, and I wasn't in Sweden. So anything that I did wasn't based on what people do in this environment, because I wasn't in Sweden and I wasn't part of China yet. So I tell this story, like when I would go into a restaurant, I get a menu, I couldn't read the menu, so I just pointed 3 different things, and I hope I would be able to eat one of them or 2 of them. But then they would serve me, and they didn't know how to serve me. So they would serve me a spoon, a fork, a knife, and 2 chopsticks, and then just gave all of it to me. And for the first time in my life, I decided how to eat the dish. And after that, I make sure that what I do is based on what I believe in. And that's why I expose myself. That's why I live in Singapore, the most global place in the world. And that's why I travel so much. I speak in 20, 30 countries per year, because I don't want to be stuck in one way of looking at the world. I want to see many different ways of learning things and then pick the one that I believe is the best. I do not believe in banging my head against the wall. I believe in taking. I call it taking the elevator. So my whole life is based on the fact that I just stand on a platform and then I wait for the elevator to come, and when it comes, I jump in. So the opportunity opens up, I jump in, I take the elevator as far as I can, then I jump out, then I relax again, and I wait for the elevator to come one more time. When it comes, I jump in. And that's equivalent is, the opposite is to walk the stairs. And then you grind and you hustle and you walk and you sweat and finally you get to the top. I don't believe in that. I don't believe that if the door is, if you can't open the door, you don't bang your head against the door. You pick a different door. If the door is heavy to open, I pick a different door. If the door is open, I walk through that door. So, and I believe life is just millions of doors. So why spend your life banging your head against one, or even spend your time lifting a heavy one when you can walk through one that's open? Or why take the stairs when you can take the elevator? The important thing here is, of course, that when the elevator open up, you need to be, because it's just open for a very short time, you have to jump in. So you need to see when that opportunity opens up, and then you need to go all in. I call this the lifestyle of a lion. I have the lifestyle of a lion. Lions, they rest for 20 hours per day. They hunt for just 2 hours per day. The rest of the time, they're just with their families, they're taking care of their kids, they're relaxing, they're having a lot of sex apparently, but basically they're just enjoying life. But 2 hours per day they hunt. But they're not very fast. They can only run 65 kilometers per hour, and they can only do it for about 100 meters or so. And the animals that they hunt are normally faster and more, can run faster for longer. So the lion, when it hunts, has to be extremely focused on making sure that they actually can catch the prey. I don't think I should be allowed to have the job of being a professional speaker if I don't believe that you can change someone's life in 1 hour. That is the job of a keynote speaker, or at least that is the aim of a keynote speaker, to do that. Mm-hmm. So I've spoken in 67 countries, and my position is to be the global conference speaker. The one that knows how to speak to global audiences, because I've spoken to people from all over the world. But there are 200 countries in the world. So my goal is that before the end of 2019 to have spoken in 100 countries, which means I need to add 33 countries in about 14 months. But that's my goal. That's my specific goal. And people who live, even if you live in a country, used to be, we saw the same ad, we saw the same news, we saw the same TV programs. We had the same experience, which created a very strong group for us. But now, even if you and I are neighbors, we might not see the same ads, we might not see the same shows, we might not see the same news, which means this identity that we used to have, that we had so much more in common with my neighbor or the people in my city or my country, that's actually being less powerful.
Thanks so much for your time today, Fredrik.
Thank you. It's fun.
I really appreciate it, and you know, I wish you well in the next 2,000 speeches.